2 days ago, John McCain made a comment about lowering the gas tax in order to appease the increasing cost of gasoline. And yet, as far as I can see, relating to this whole issue of energy and gasoline, the problem is one of supply and demand. And the Chinese are in the international marketplace, and a barrel of oil is now $115, and so the demand exceeds the supply. And all I can see that lowering the gas tax would do is to increase the demand, and I don't see how it would increase the supply whatsoever. If anything, the solution is to increase the gas tax and go in the other direction, and in the longer term get people to change into a more sustainable way of doing things than we are at the moment. And I wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, thank you.
I guess I does. It's like one additional comment to this is we made the same mistake twice. The ozone hole is there because we used a long-lived chemical in the atmosphere and it built up. That's what the ozone hole problem was due to. It's nothing wrong with chlorine. Nobody tells you you can't have chlorine bleach. Nobody tells you you can't put chlorine in your swimming pool. It's because that chlorine has a short lifetime. It's not chlorine that's bad, as it was long-lived. Why are we having a problem with methane and carbon dioxide? Because they're long-lived. The carbon dioxide lifetime is really, really long. What else has a long lifetime? Radioactivity. If you go nuclear and start covering the planet in nuclear power plants, you're making the same mistake a third time. And it's not just the short-lived isotopes. Right now, there's 1,800 metric tons of plutonium sitting around world nuclear reactors. That's enough to make 200,000 nuclear weapons. There's enough of that in Mexico to make nearly 1,000 weapons. There's enough of it in Brazil to make thousands of weapons. There's enough in Argentina to make thousands of weapons. That's all over the world. That's one problem. The other problem is not just that waste. Those reactors become radioactive. You have to bury the entire building. I'm willing to predict that in 100 years, France is going to be nothing but huge concrete tombs all over the place where there's used up nuclear reactor buildings. So this is another challenge we have here, is that the most obvious solution to this is just to go nuclear. But it's the same mistake the third time.
Right. If we want to build alternatives to the sources of energy we are using, we really need to think carefully, and you raised some of the concerns. What kind of alternatives we have, and I think that we need to deal with a kind of portfolio approach in which we use solar energy, wind energy, right, a set of options and not only one option. And we need to pay attention to the unintended consequences of what we develop. And we need to have memory and to keep in mind that history matters. Nuclear energy has proved to be dangerous, and we cannot come back to repeat the same mistakes, because if we do, we will do what Nietzsche used to say, to repeat history the first time as a comedy and the second as a tragedy. So we really need to be careful.
We are making another mistake, of course, right? Did this go off? At the moment, with regard to biofuels and the way in which the U.S. Congress has put corn into ethanol, and you get marginal production of fuel from that, but it's not a holistic approach. It doesn't consider what the impacts are on agriculture, on food, and in particular, it doesn't include the impacts on the soils. And what is being done right now is simply not sustainable. And so the sustainability aspect, a more holistic view that Patty mentioned, is something that we need to build in when these kinds of decisions are made.